Morning. It's a beautiful morning in June. Um, I would like to share a conspiracy theory with you. Um, Something that has always confused me. When something confuses me, when something comes up and it seems to have absolutely no explanation, there's an explanation somewhere. Um, do you remember that in 2015 there were a total of 16 Republican primary candidates? Goodness, Rubio, Kasich, Carson, Trump, of course. Uh, just goodness, so many names. Cruz, uh, Lindsey Graham. There were just a ton of Republican candidates. As I say, at one point there were 16, and then one day they were all gone. Do you remember? I remember I had a bet with some friends at work. It sickened me to think about Trump being the Republican nominee. And so I bet a couple of other friends that he would be the nominee. Because I figured that way, if he lost, I'd be happy. I wouldn't care about the money I lost. And if he won, at least I'd get some money to cheer me up. Nobody expected it to happen. And if he got the nominee, no one expected him to win the election. But here's the important thing that the Trump campaign had that no other campaign had. The Trump campaign, from the very beginning, when he first got all his shills to hang around and cheer him, his paid lackeys to come over and cheer him to announce his candidacy, to the day of his election and swearing into office, he had Russia. Russia was absolutely committed to getting Donald Trump in office. And you might wonder, why? Trump had no foreign policy. He had no stated, thought through strategy for why we needed Russia. There is only one reason, in my opinion, and that is Putin owns Donald Trump. As soon as he take $100 million through Deutsche Bank to launder money for Russian oligarchs at the behest of Vladimir Putin, Vladimir Putin owns him for that. And so Putin desperately worked so hard to make sure that his Manchurian candidate got into the presidency from the beginning to the end. The first thing that had to happen is Russia had to work to clear the field. And if you think Russia was not involved in every single stage, you underestimate Russia and what they're both willing to do and what they're capable of doing. I will guarantee you that the Russian GRU has a nice thick folder of everything that every Republican nominee for the primaries, for the presidential primaries, they knew every stinking thing that those people had done through the years. They knew every affair they had had. They knew every wrong thing they had done with money. They knew that some of these people had taken Russian money. It's something Republicans do. They had the goods on the other candidates. There is my conspiracy theory, because there was this huge field, and all of a sudden, bam, there's just Trump. Russia worked extremely hard to make sure that people to get online, to have rallies, that seemed to be sponsored by Americans, but were actually sponsored by Russians and put together by Russians. They had they here's my theory, and this is the kind of theory that if it's true, there's no way of knowing it's true. It's the same I often say, if there's such a thing as white privilege, no white person will ever be able to tell you it's there, because a fish does not know wet. In the same way, all Putin had to do was find an intermediary to go to the other Republican nominees and share with them, well, we can destroy not only your candidacy for the presidency, also your career, and also your family. We can destroy them all. Do you care about your wife? Do you care about your children? We have the goods on what your son or daughter did. Be happy. We don't really want to publish it, but we'd be happy to. We have the goods on what you did. We know your wife doesn't know about it. We'd be happy to go ahead and publish it and make sure that your life is destroyed. The Russians were involved from beginning to end to get their man in the White House, and to think that they would not be involved in the primaries, in my opinion, is just nonsensical to me. Going on, obviously, with the election, we need to emphasize that the Russians involved in the misinformation campaign are not stupid. They know that it's not primarily the number of votes you get. It's how many delegates from the Electoral College that you get, and therefore they knew exactly what states needed to be poured in with misinformation. And Russia can commit any crime they want with impunity. What, the FBI is going to come and arrest a bunch of Russian hackers on computers? No, they're not. They're in Kiev. They're in Leningrad. They're or Stalingrad, whatever you want to call it. But they're not gettable, and so they can do any crime they want. They can go in and take Podesta's emails and Clinton's emails and publish them through Wikipedia using Roger Stone as the intermediary, and for the last 3 weeks of the campaign, just keep on putting out those emails that seem most incriminating, and whichever ones they want to throw in there that they can just make it look like they're incriminating. A dear relative of mine was so upset that the DNC had worked to make sure that Clinton was the nominee rather than rather than Bernie Sanders. He had the burn, and I always looked at it and I said, what is the DNC for, if not to find what they think is the most electable and best candidate and support that candidate? Molly Ivins used to say, if you remember Molly Ivins, she used to say there is in every progressive presidential primary a man who you really wish his policies would be instituted, and he is absolutely unelectable. You could not elect him in 100 years, and even if you got him elected, he wouldn't be able to get those ideas past Congress. So yeah, that never seemed strange to me, but I digress. It goes on and on. But the reason we have Donald Trump is Russia. Russia owns Donald Trump, and they put him in office. He wasn't supposed to get In my opinion, they fixed the primaries by clearing the field for him. We know they worked extremely hard during the election. And now what is going to happen now? Notice everything Donald Trump is saying right now. I'm going to be president again. We're going to overturn this thing. I'm going to be president. Who is he talking to? He doesn't care about the electorate. He doesn't care about his constituents. He certainly doesn't care about the Republican Party. He cares what Vladimir Putin thinks right now, because Putin owns him. The only reason he's of any use to Russia is because he has power. He has political power. Well, he doesn't have it right now, but he needs to convince Russia. He needs to convince Putin, keep him thinking, I'm going to have it. I'm going to have it again soon. I'm going to have it again soon. I'm your man. You need me. You need me. Because there is no honor among thieves. Putin will turn on Trump the second he thinks that Trump is not valuable to him. And I wish my Republican friends would recognize that in their support of Putin, there's one thing about Russia that they sometimes forget. In Russia, you are not allowed to own a gun. Trump will take away your guns. He does not care about the Second Amendment. If you want to look to someone who cares about the Second Amendment, you got to vote Democrat. Republicans are in it for power and money and sex, if they can maintain an erection. But power and money for the old ones. There, I may digress a little bit again. So he needs to keep on convincing Putin that he is going to be back in power, so that he can remain valuable to Putin, because Putin could turn on him at a moment's notice.